Are you considering selling your property to open floor, more, s'more? Well, if you are considering selling your property to a large investment company of any type, I'm going to give you some pros and cons, tell you when it might be a good idea, but also provide some tips and tell you when it's a bad idea, because there are a lot of things that people just don't know about selling their properties to companies like that. And those companies are very heavy on the marketing. I'm telling you, they send so many mailers. Their mailers are very catchy, they're very effective, but a lot of times I find that they are targeting people who may not really fully understand all of the details. And that's really what concerns me, is I think that everybody should be able to make an informed decision and choose what they want to do with their own property. By the way, my name is Sarah Mesley. I've been selling properties in San Diego for 16 years. And if you know anybody who is looking to move to buy or sell a property in San Diego, I would love the referral. I would love to help. The large investment companies do a lot of marketing to homeowners of detached homes and condos alike in order to try to get a discount. And they will then typically try to flip the property for a profit. It is important that I tell you that I don't feel that that's inherently evil. The only thing that I feel is bad is if you aren't really understanding their fees and their processes. Remember that it is a business and their goal is to make a profit on your home equity. So the first thing that a lot of people don't know is how expensive their fees are. So when they're seeing that it's very simple and easy and all they have to do is sell directly to this company, and maybe they are already expecting that, this company is going to buy my home at a discount, but I don't have to pay a realtor, and that might be true. But the interesting thing is a lot of those companies are charging the exact same amount that a full service realtor would charge. And if you would be on the open market, you could probably get a lot more for your home. That does not mean that every real estate agent is a good real estate agent, that you should trust anyone, that you shouldn't interview them. But a really, really good real estate agent will typically make the experience as smooth as possible for you and net you more money. And the thing I don't like about this is a lot of people don't know how high those fees are. We're talking some of these companies, I've seen them charging 5%, and you don't even have a real estate agent, and you don't even have anybody representing your own interests. And they're still able to market that, oh, you don't have to pay a real estate agent a commission type thing, when they're pretty much charging around the same thing, but they're just calling it a fee. The second thing to consider is, what is the process going to be like? So on one hand, with a traditional real estate agent, if you're going on the market with a traditional sale, there are going to be some hassles involved. For example, if the property is owner occupied and you're having people in your house, you're either having open houses or you're having scheduled showings, I will fully admit that yes, that can be a hassle. That's not fun. Nobody enjoys that. But that is one of the best ways to get top dollar, by having as many people in as possible, especially during the first couple of weeks. Now, avoiding the hassle is going to one of those investment companies, and you typically will only have one first appointment with them where they're viewing the property. They sometimes will bring like a manager back, and then they'll go directly into inspections if you accept their offer. So there are fewer appointments along the way. But where it gets kind of tricky is that inspection process. So with both scenarios, you're typically going to have the buyer inspect the property, and then the buyer may come up with a request for repairs or credit. So they're going to find things that are wrong with your home, because every home has things that are wrong with it. And then they're going to say, well, based on that information, now this is what I really want from you. So let's look at a traditional sale first. Yes, it's really common that buyers will ask for a request for repairs or credit, and that's fully negotiable. So you could say, sorry, I'm not willing to do any of this, or you could go back and forth a little bit. You can come to an agreement, meet me halfway, or maybe their offer was phenomenal and you want to do it all. It's up to you. Now, with a scenario like well, you catch my drift. They are typically going to come out with a certain amount of money, and they're going to say, this is what we realize it's going to cost us for repairs. So in order for us to move forward, this is what we need. You don't have as much room for negotiations in that scenario. And I want you to do your research before you consider selling to an investment company, and look up online the reviews to see how often people feel that they have been bait and switched. In other words, does the first representative come out to the property, give you one price, and say, we'd love to buy your property for $1 million. And then they do the inspections and there are a few things wrong. And then are they immediately going into a drastically different price without enough reasoning for a drastically different price? That is my question. Sometimes people who are maybe of a certain age, having some difficulty understanding the process, I feel that they could be taken advantage of if they feel that this is their only option because they've already gone so far in the process, they just want to get it done, and now they're being asked for some huge price reduction and they're like, let me just get it done. But they could have been making more money. That is not to say that if you go on the market with a real estate agent, that the buyer can't back out or try to pull a bait and switch game too, because they can. The only difference is typically a good real estate agent will do everything that they can to try to reduce those risks. You typically have more negotiation power as well. So I think that we have determined that if going for top dollar, going for the highest net possible is important to you, then you really should compare the estimates provided to you by both a traditional real estate agent of what they think the property will sell for and what your net will be or what you can expect to walk away with after the sale of the home, and compare that with what one of those investment companies is offering you and their fees as well. So for example, what are they charging for title and escrow? But is there ever a time and place where it just doesn't really matter? My answer is yes. There is a time and place where I absolutely would not blame you for just going and selling to an investment company. So first of all, it's really none of my business. I'm making this video because it's important to me to educate people so that they don't get taken advantage of. But if you, with full awareness, choose to sell to an investment company, I absolutely don't care, and I just want you to be happy. So in my opinion, the time and place where it makes sense to sell directly to an investment company is if you're at a point in your life where time is more important than money. And what I mean by that is if you have a life circumstance whereby you absolutely have to sell that property very, very quickly, time is of the essence, you don't even have time to go on the market, and the amount of money is not as important because something else in your life is urgent at the moment. Well, then that might be a perfect solution for you. It is also important to understand that with a lot of great real estate agents, we can also shop around for investor offers and sometimes bring you mini investor offers, potentially without even having to go on the market, so that you have a similar scenario, but you're actually able to compare and negotiate with those investors who are often buying the property as is and all cash as well. So you might want to compare all three of those options. Hopefully that was helpful. If you are considering selling your property to an investment company, the two big things I want you to look into are what are their fees and what are the reviews like online. If you've ever sold your property to an investment company, what was your experience like? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you will subscribe.